Hello, hello, hello. Everyone can hear me okay? Awesome, awesome. Great. Happy Thursday. I am so glad that we get to be joined together to talk about the Community Restorative Justice Hubs launch of the Restorative Justice Learning Collective. Throughout this presentation, I'll definitely share more about what the collective is all about, give you some information around how to apply, and also just tell you a little bit of background on who the hubs are. To get us started, I want to say that my name is Karlyn Boens, and I have the privilege of being the Community Restorative Justice Hubs Manager. Basically means I have the privilege of convening all 6 restorative justice hubs across Chicago, helping them to ground in their work, facilitate in their work as restorative justice hubs. So you'll get a more taste of who we are as we go about and why this cohort has lodged. But before we begin, I always like to just kind of slow things down. I don't know many of you. You probably don't know me. So let's just take a moment. And I definitely don't know what the week has been like for you. Maybe this is the first moment in your day when maybe you have an opportunity to be intentional about your breath. I don't know, as leaders, you might be running from meeting to meeting, but I encourage you to just take this moment to just ground yourself. I know I can use it. I love to just kind of start where I put in my hand at my heart and reminding myself that, whoa, this thing is really working and it is beating for me. And it doesn't need me to tell it to do so every few seconds. So take this moment and have a collective breath. Maybe take this moment to even ground in why you're here. There was something about this collective that sparked your interest. Maybe it was just a topic of restorative justice. Maybe it was just the idea that you get to be a part of a learning community. Maybe it was the topics that's going to be introduced. So take a moment and ground in your why for attending this info session. I know for us at the Community Restorative Justice Hubs, our why was building stronger communities through restorative practices. For the last few years, we've really contained a lot of our knowledge amongst us as 6 organizations. And now it is time to expand outward, share what we've been learning, and really get into the work. So for me, I'm grounding myself in that why. Anybody want to share for them? What are they grounding themselves in this moment? Maybe just in that idea of RJ or collective learning, whatever it might be. What was your decision to show up to this info session? Feel free to unmute if anyone wants to share. Maybe you were just invited and you're just curious. Use the chat or unmute.
Hey everyone, I'm Krista Hamilton, CEO and President of the UCAN. Thank you for the invite. I'm joining on behalf of my VP of HR, China Bush, who will likely be joining the remaining sessions. We practice restorative justice within our organizations, with our clients, our participants. But when Emma sent out the email, it was talking about how we might use this for our employees and our staff in our own organization culture. So that's why I'm here, because I would love to transfer that approach to our staff, not only our participants and clients.
Beautiful. That's what it's all about. I'm so glad you're here. Much love and respect to UCAN, the work that you all do. As someone who is a former youth in care, I greatly appreciate the work. So just know also, as someone that'll be facilitating in this, I come from that personal lens, and I also come from that macro social work lens, and now the industrial and organization psychology lens and RJ lens to make all of this work. So thank you so much for joining and representing UCAN. Thank you
Thank you
so
for
much.
having me.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Pat, for sharing in the chat. Connecting with others dedicated to RJ will help me stay centered. Yes, this is community work. And it definitely, I'm just going to reiterate it. It is community work. I think RJ is deeply personal. It starts with our own mirror work of saying, how do I show up to this? But then when we talk about transforming our own organizations, our systems, our culture, it's community work. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing. Awesome. Well, as it has been advertised, this collective will run from January to June of 2026, and applications are currently open. And that's also probably why you're here, to learn more about what that looks like. Emma and Tom are both interning with us at Adler. Emma and Tom, if you're able to, I don't have it up right now, but later I'm going to ask you to maybe drop the link to the applications, maybe that PDF as well. So you kind of like play point guard with me, help me in that way. That would be so great. Thank you both. Awesome. Well, welcome. Our time today really is about learning about the Restorative Justice Learning Collective, its goals and its structures. You read a bit about it online, but now we get to kind of talk face to face with it. And for that, I'm so grateful. We do still have people coming in, so I'll be kind of monitoring the waiting room. Welcome, Erica. We are just getting started. So glad that you could join us. So yes, we'll be learning about what the collective is all about, from its goals and its structures. We'll take some time to really understand the eligibility piece and the application process. And then, as advertised, and I'm so excited about this piece of the work, every organization will have an opportunity to participate in coaching. 6 hours of coaching from someone who has definitely helped to lead and guide our community restorative justice hubs through the years. Dr. Perry, she is on the call, so you'll have an opportunity to hear from her a little bit of her consultation and coaching style, and she can explore some of the ways in which she'll be integrating coaching into this collective experience. I want to pause there because I always think objectives are collective experiences. Please share in the chat or unmute if there's anything else you really wanted to talk about and want to make sure you get your questions answered to. Drop it in the chat and I'll be happy to move it along in our agenda as we go. But this is the bare outline, and we'll add some, nuggets as we go along. Thanks, everybody. So who are we? Who are we? If you've heard of the Community Restorative Justice Hubs before, we really are a community-led collective. That is who we are. Community-led collective. We are in 6 different neighborhoods, really supporting one another, because the RJ work is hard work sometimes, right? As we are leaning in for our community, our participants, our families. And it's even harder when we're trying to do this work from an organizational and macro lens. So first of all, the Community Restorative Justice Hubs, we are here to support one another as hubs. And in supporting one another, our goal is to transform lives and systems by advancing restorative practices. Our support for one another looks like monthly circles. Every month, the 6 organizations who are currently a part of the collective, as named below, also Circles and Ciphers, Kenwood Oakland Community Organization, New Life Centers, Precious Blood, and Target Area, they come together once a month in circle, talking about the work that's happening at their organizations. They're strategizing, and they're really thinking about how to deeply embed the work of restorative justice in their neighborhoods, in their work, in their culture. And underpinning these 6 organizations are Adler University, which is who I am an employee of. Adler University came to the table around 2012, when this collective was emerging, and really showed up as support for data and evaluations for all 6 of these organizations. Because for them, it was like, if we're going to do this collectively, we need to find ways to measure our work collectively. So supporting all 6 of these organizations are Adler University. We most of the time go in with shared grants, shared learning, things that really elevate our work together. And we are also partnered by the resource section of the Juvenile Circuit Court. So we're so excited to have the Chief Judge of the Circuit Court, who also partners deeply with us and supports the work as well. So we are so grateful for these connections. Michelle Day, who also runs that juvenile section, resource section of the court, also shows up every single month to these hub meetings and is definitely a big supporter in the work. So that is who we are, a network of community-based organizations in Chicago's neighborhoods. And one thing you might find about our neighborhoods is that they're all different, right? And that is the beauty of it. New Life Centers is located in Little Village, and they are able to sit in a circle with their friends. Precious Blood located in back of the yards, and we're able to say, how are you seeing the work? What's the intersection like? Where is the work happening? And that is the beauty in this. What neighborhoods are you all from? Anybody want to share? And you're probably in multiple neighborhoods, but what neighborhoods are you all from? I know a little bit about UCAN, but Erica, Daniel, Pat, Donald, what neighborhoods are you all representing?
Hey there, I'm in Colorado and super glad to just be in a Zoom room that's this quaint and cozy. I feel very lucky to be just one of the few people on this call. Sometimes you go to it's like so many people there, nobody would even notice if you came or went. Was how highly I thought of this, what the need of this is. So to get this attention is essential right now. We have 200 member organizations of RJ in Colorado that are very much in need of being activated around organizing. So really appreciate this.
Yeah, thanks, Erica, for being here and showing up from Colorado. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and go ahead. Donald?
Yes, I'm actually in Cincinnati, Ohio. I recently ran for city council and I lost, and someone recommended this program to me to learn more about what you guys were doing and probably try to replicate it here. So I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Wow, thanks for saying that. I'm doing some consulting right now with a couple organizations in Cincinnati on RJ. So I wonder if you're familiar. Happy to chat later.
Okay.
And I also put out there that I also ran in my local commissioners run and did not succeed. So I'm sharing that with you. I know
Okay.
it's a lot. It's a lot. But
Yeah.
if you go out there again, you got this. You got this.
Yes. Thank you.
Awesome. What about you, Pat? Let's see that you shared already and I missed it. Okay, Pat, where are you representing?
I'm in Michigan right now, but north side of Chicago.
Awesome. Thank you. And Daniel, I see you're over in Marquette Park. That's so beautiful. UCAN is representing North Lawndale, Roseland, Pullman, East Garfield, Inglewood, South Shore, and Burnside. So this is what it's about. Different organizations in different neighborhoods being able to come together and say, this is where that intersection of restorative justice lies. So that's what we do. The work of the Community Restorative Justice Hubs is also grounded in, and I'll just say here, you can say you heard it from me, not just trauma-informed care, but the healing-centered movement, right? Like starting our foundation from the approach that resilience is real, just as much as trauma, right? But our neighborhoods, our communities are so resilient in what they do and how they show up for each other. And given that, there is also opportunities for safe space and opportunities for reconciliation, healing, and growth. So we are collaborating together because we have a strong belief that everyone deserves an opportunity to be safe and everyone deserves an opportunity to be whole, right? Imagine that for the families and participants you serve, but imagine that for your staff as well. What does safety for our staff look like? What does it look like to know that our staff are able to show up and do their work and feel whole? And the vision we share is right relationship. Because for us, at the center of restorative justice is being in right relationship with ourselves, one another, and the communities around us. So that's a little bit around who we are. Our website, the rjhubs.org, Emma and Tom can drop that in the chat. You can learn a little bit more about us through that way, or visit their individual websites for all of the hubs in order to also learn. Erica, yes, I am recording this specifically to share back out to you all so that you all have it, but feel free to take any other notes that you might want, but this is recorded and I will definitely share it back out. Awesome. So why? Why is it that we've been around since 2012 and we're finally like, yup, it is time for a collective. It is time for some sort of broader learning collective. Well, there are many reasons why, but if I had to sum it down to 3 whys, it would be this. We are looking to deepen restorative practice. We want to share with organizations the grounded knowledge of RJ in terms of values, principles, and tools. And we want to support you all in bringing these practices to life within your organizations. And not just when you think of restorative justice from its cultural standpoint, we came together as a collective to talk about different pillars, right, that we feel like are important to embody in our organizations. So we're going to talk in deep about those within the collective as well. There's certain character traits that you're going to find at any of those 6 organizations if you step inside. Things like radical hospitality, things like accompaniment, right? Things like the fact that we are to be a learning collective. So we're going to talk about all of the pillars of the Community Restorative Justice Hubs and really help you all identify where you see these at work within your organizations. And then on top of that, why did we decide to really put out this learning collective? It's to strengthen relationships and communities. We're looking to foster lasting connections amongst organizations that's committed to restorative justice, that's already trying to do the work, doing the work already, want to dip their toe in it, but it's about expanding the RJ Hubs network and really building out this citywide community of practice. In so many ways, we also see this collective as a pipeline to more organizations within the Community Restorative Justice Hubs network. And we're here to help you sustain the change and well-being. Everything that you're going to be learning within these next 6 months, we also want to help you sustain it. So having that individual coaching and collective support really will help to embed RJ within your leadership, in your staff culture, and in the ways in which you show up to care for your community. For us, it's about ensuring that these practices go beyond the cohort. We definitely want to support you in doing that work. So that's our why. And earlier when you all came in, you sort of named your why for being here as well. And based off of your why and this why, I see a lot of good synergy happening in the room. So I'm grateful for that. So what's an overview? What will you kind of anticipate experiencing over the next 6 months, January to June? Well, we have room for 8 organizations. And the reason why, it goes actually back to Erica's point in the beginning. We want to create this cozy feel. We really want to be able to learn together, get to know one another, and grow. There are some things that are highly encouraged. We understand if you don't directly fit this bubble, please apply, right? But we're highly encouraging organizations that are already serving youth, families, and communities most impacted by violence, right? And any systematic inequity. So that draws a broad span. We also are interested in supporting churches. We're also interested in supporting local government groups that are also trying to bring in and support restorative justice within their work. So just if you don't see your direct population niche listed, please apply. This is just what we're highly encouraging. Now, this also is a 6-month hybrid experience. So 2 of our sessions will be in person. I'll be curious for those of you who are out of town, what this might look like for you. But 2 of our sessions will be in person, our very first one in January and our last one in June. And then the 4 middle sessions will be virtual. We'll be meeting for about 5.5 hours because there is so much good knowledge to soak up, you all. And the way in which the cohort will be ran will be some opportunity in the front end for some relationship building, some shared learning, some opportunity to connect whatever topic we're talking about that month directly to your organization, right? Some paired learning. So there's a lot that's going to be happening within that 5.5 hours, and we really want to make the most of our time. We also recognize that as leaders, right, your time is valuable. So maximizing that time is going to be really important for us. And then on top of this, to really bake it in, we will also have 6 hours of coaching available to you. The upfront model is 1 hour a month, but we fully trust that you and Dr. Perry can sort of map out the timing that works for you. But this coaching really is to support and helping you to really integrate the learning into your practice and your culture. It's an opportunity for you to go back and say, wow, we just had this amazing session on our vision and our mission. And after hearing this session and going through that 5.5 hour session, we recognize that our mission might be more deficit focused than strength based or RJ based. What does this look like? So you have the opportunity to bring questions like this and more, given Dr. Perry's extensive history, to your coaching sessions. I want to pause there. Are there any questions coming up for you around this general overview? It's okay if not, but just want to ask.
So just question about this 8 organizations. If let's say a bunch of organizations get together and say we want to do this just with like a rep, would that be appropriate to help get more impact around these 8 organizations?
Yeah, Erica, I want to make sure I hear you. You said if there are more organizations, so perhaps if we're overwhelmed with applications, is there an opportunity to add more? Let me make sure I understand your question.
No, like for example, I'm with a coalition. So let's say
Yeah.
like 10 of our organizations in the coalition want to just have one application, but y'all are seeing that's 10 orgs that are going to be impacted by that one application. I'm just trying to embrace the collaboration with the small, capacity of this cohort.
Absolutely. Erica, I would love to talk to you about that more in depth. Off the bat, I would say I'm open to something like that. And also because it's already a coalition, I'm wondering would a different format or space work for that work. The Community Restorative Justice Hub, we do have a consulting wing, and we are also starting some fee-for-service models as well. So I'm wondering, based off of the coalition's goals and what it is that you all are already working on, would there be an opportunity to do this in a different format? But we could talk about either one. Thanks for dropping in your email. Emma, Tom, can I ask for one of you all to copy that so we can reach back out to Erica as well? Thank you so much. Does that help, Erica? Basically, we got some options. Yeah, awesome.
I had a kind of similar question. Sorry, I'm Daniel. Hi. I'm just coming back to work off paternity leave, so I'm still in a fog and daze of all that. But thank you. I'm with CPS, but I'm
Yes.
funded through OSCL, and I'm a restorative justice coordinator, and there's like 130 something of us. So I'm curious to what that might look like, and I'm also reaching out now to see what they know about this hub. My trainers and everything like that, because we have different things going on. And this is only the 4th school year that this is a formal role too. So I'm curious on how we can maybe talk through and ideas and all that. So I'll put my email down.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. By curiosity, is your team with Andrew Hung, Jason Ware?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We've already
Okay.
been in conversation.
We're already in it. Okay, sweet.
Yeah,
See,
I think
this
this
is what
would
happens when
be
you're gone for a quarter. Okay.
all good. Great to meet you. I think this
Yeah.
would be a wonderful opportunity for your team at CPS. So I definitely encourage you all to apply. You all are already doing the work in community, basically with schools. This would be an opportunity to help you as a staff think about your practices and culture. And I understand that it goes a little bit deeper since you are part of the CPS network as well. So please apply.
Okay, sweet.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. All right, I want to share a little bit more about structure and sort of what you all can anticipate. The monthly agenda sessions, every month will be a different topic, right? And we only got 5.5 hours for each session. So I understand that we won't get a full in-depth approach, but that is where we also supplement with coaching and with the relationships we build among ourselves. So in January, we start with a really big deep dive. We begin by really grounding ourselves in the lineage, the values, and the ethics of restorative justice. So yes, we'll talk about the circle process, but more in depth, we'll talk about worldview and the deeper commitments behind the work. This will also be in person, so you'll have the opportunity to meet some of the Hub EDs and their executive leadership team in person as well. You'll also learn the pillars and the why of what has grounded them all of these years. So all of the good things there. And in February, we turn to a session around mission and vision. I really envision this to be more about strategic planning in that way, but we'll look at how an organization's mission, vision, and strategic goals can be moved even more deeply to align with restorative justice, equity, healing, and community accountability. So think about this session as a way of saying, let's put our own missions and visions and strategic goals to the test, right? Where are we seeing it deeply embedded in restorative justice? And for those of us that have been doing our work for decades, we want you to also go ahead and share that experience too within the session of what this looks like for you to have a mission and goals that's deeply aligned and rooted in equity and healing, right? So that will be an awesome session. And then in March, we turn our attention to HR and leadership. So this month in particular, we're really focused on leadership practices, things like supervision, hiring, governance, and the everyday decisions our organizations make that shape our culture through a restorative lens. April, we turn to a little bit more of our internal policy and growth. So we're going to explore ways that our policies, our structures, and our internal systems really support sustainability and restorative approaches across our organization. So many of these sessions, we will have some outside co-facilitators as well as me, helping to bridge a lot of these gaps and a lot of these learnings within that restorative justice framework. I mentioned in the beginning, I am wrapping up a PhD in industrial and organizational psychology. I nerd out on all of these topics, literally. So I also would be so excited to share with you all my learning journey, templates, all of these sessions. You're going to definitely leave with frameworks, tools to take back to your organization, take back to your coalition, Erica, to say, hey, let's apply this tool. Let's do this checkbox. Let's do the thing and see where we can strengthen and grow ourselves. In May, we turn to documentation and storytelling. I think this is really, really foundational to the community restorative justice hubs themselves. As they formed, they really had to think about, how do we document this work? How do we share into this? How do we prove that it's working? And this is really a case for your funders as well. As you think about really applying that RJ model, funders want to know, well, how do you know it works? Where are you seeing the transformation within your leadership, within your staff? How does that then shine outwardly? So May will be our opportunity for you all to build on the skills that you already have for documenting restorative work, really capturing the stories, right, that's happening internally and with your participants, your communities, capturing these stories with integrity and sharing the narratives that really uplift your staff voice, your community voice, and your learning. And one of the most important topics I like to think about is collective wellness and sustainability. So we're going to close in person with a session that really talks about practices and strategies for sustaining our leaders, our teams, our organizations, our coalitions, really focused on wellness and resilience and collective care as part of our long-term commitments. So once again, across all 6 of these months, you'll receive up to 6 hours of individual coaching to really help you integrate and apply these learnings into your organization. Any questions coming up? Any of this you feel like it's not completely clear that I can elaborate on for you? Any other topics you would like to see? To help you think about this, I would love for us to drop a topic in the chat right now that you feel most excited about. It could be you're excited about it because your organization is right now in the movement of thinking about HR and leadership. or right now you're in the work of thinking about RJ and what that deep dive looked like. Or maybe you're at a point where you've just been kind of wrestling around with documentation and storytelling. Maybe you're excited about it because you're doing it really well and you want to also be a part of this collective to share knowledge. Drop it in the chat. Where are you most excited about? Thank you, Erica. Partnership development for power building, collective funding strategies. Absolutely. I think that documentation and storytelling is really going to help you get at that. And the February session, when we talk about some of that mission vision, but some of those strategic priorities, will help get at that partnership development. Anyone else? Any of these topics you're really excited about?
I'll just echo something that I put in the chat is like our funding within Colorado is, well, everywhere, but it's been taken back into the state from the grant that was going to community-based organizations. And that's how to counter the call for community organizations to be so competitive with each other is that collective funding piece. But just really appreciate this conversation of good news while everything else is turbulent. This is really reassuring.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, that the funding piece is a beast right now, especially for many of us that might be getting federal funding, right? And even many of us that may have received, I'm seeing a lot of organizations who have received COVID funds, right, that are now at the standpoint of running out and thinking about how do we sustain the work that we started or continue doing during COVID too. So all of these pieces are very real. One other person want to share, is there a topic on here that's really speaking to you or you're excited to dive deeper into?
I'm excited about restorative HR and leadership. So which is why I have my HR person, my HR leader, are going to be joining. So that's interesting for us. And I mean all of them, honestly. Policy and organizational growth. So
I love it.
you know, we are excited.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. And Pat, thanks for adding the role of RJ in improving mental health. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think given that, it might be a great segue to introduce Dr. Perry, who has supported the community restorative justice hubs long before I came into the work. I remember meeting Dr. Perry actually when I worked for one of the hubs. I used to coordinate the young women's program and reentry for housing for women over at Precious Blood. And Dr. Perry was consulting with us as a hub at the time from P&S Evolution. So I want to introduce Dr. Perry to share a little bit about herself and her work. So I'm going to turn it over to her for a moment.
So hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all. I guess I will, since she put all those hats there, I will sort of add to it. So I am a clinical and forensic psychologist, but I'm also a professor. I'm also a mediator. I'm also a trainer. So I wear a lot of different hats. And my work hubs have really been, if I had to say, is that, we often come to the work with our intentions and goal to help others. And we're not always good about helping ourselves. And so part of my work is how do you do both? How do you have compassion for others, but equally have compassion for yourself so you have the resilience to do the heavy lift that you do? And so my role has been to really carve out time that you sort of can put your finger on the ways in which the work replenishes you, but how it drains you. And how do you cultivate a plan for yourself and your staff to really have the resilience to do your work? So whether that is individual wellness coaching, whether that's doing an organizational assessment, of your policies, your practices and structure, and what may be added to help you all do the work. Sometimes it may be trainings that you need, whether that's in leadership, whether that's in supervision, whether that's in specific areas to help your staff have the knowledge, skills, and attitude to do the job well. So it really starts with meeting you and having conversations and purposeful conversations about your areas of strength and maybe some of the areas where you're challenged, and putting together a plan with, ideally at 6 months, you have the skills, you have the direction to be at your best as individuals and as an organization. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Am I missing anything, Karlyn?
No, that's beautiful. And I do want to say that, you know, when you all are partnering with Dr. Perry as part of this collective, you can build out that 6 hours as it makes sense for you all, right? Because as Dr. Perry mentioned, there might be times where you're like, oh, okay, we might need some staff training, like some wellness training altogether. So this coaching really is your opportunity. It's you have that autonomy along with Dr. Perry to really build out what that looks like. But I'm just so excited to have her share her wealth of knowledge. The hubs, I would personally say, and many of them too, would not be where they are if it was not for the work of Dr. Perry and really helping us to think about wellness and what that looks like for us as staff, our organizations, and how that then spins out to our participants in the community that we serve. So you all are in for a treat, and I'm so excited. Yeah. Any questions
Any
for Dr.
questions?
Yeah.
I did say I'm a therapist, so I can sit in silence until I hear
Right?
a
Same.
comment.
Don't bother
I
me.
think I was disclosing about that. So yes, I'm comfortable sitting in silence, people.
Does not bother me either. I love that. I love that. I love it. All right. Well, Dr. Perry will be around for the rest of our little 20-ish minutes. So feel free if things come up, drop it in the chat. Let us know. We're so excited to have this as an addition to the cohort, the collective experience. So I talked about this a little bit earlier, but what does that sample agenda looks like, right? If you want to just look at the middle there, some of these key components, every session, whether we are in person or virtual, we're going to start with some sort of opening, some sort of grounding in the fashion and the spirit of RJ. And then the bulk of our time together will always be that learning exchange. Given one of those topics that we mentioned on the previous slide, things like the HR, the strategic planning, documentation, we'll spend our time really learning and exchanging knowledge in that way. We'll come back together to really do some interaction application after we've talked about a topic in detail. How do we then really get to collectively process and digest this? We'll have always opportunities for small groups. We want you all to leave as a collective being able to say, I met 2 other organizations that I'm now buddy to buddy with, right? So having that small group conversation and reflection really helps you all to think about what does this mean directly for your organization. And we'll always come together to sort of harvest our learning, to reflect, to make sense of what the day was like and what our learning and next steps are. And also in the spirit of circle and restorative justice, there'll always be some sort of closing ritual that you all can decide yourself, whether that's a poem that you all create in the first session and we want to repeat every session, or quote, or some sort of ritual that really guides us. So this is sort of a sample of what the flow will look like for our monthly times together. I believe our times are technically every Wednesday. I think the way that it's scheduled, the first Wednesday, was it the Tuesdays? Okay, but anyway, don't quote me on that. But the schedule is really aligned so that those dates are never guessed, right? So you'll have calendar invites for all of them, and you'll always know when we're headed, where we're headed, and all of the good things. So if you're still asking yourself, is this collective right for you? There's a couple little tab bits I have on the screen, but let me also iterate, we are not bound to this, okay? We do want to prioritize Chicago-based organizations. So that is the priority. If you are not Chicago-based, please apply. There is learning in this for everyone. And as long as we have the space, the room, and the commitment is right, given the fact that some of our sessions are in person, we want you to apply. So think about it. Are you a Chicago-based organization? Maybe you're a grassroots group, a coalition that's already exploring or integrating restorative justice across your work. Are you already doing the work? Are you already curious in the work? You can answer yes. There you go. Are you already serving young people, families, schools, communities who are most impacted by violence? Is that you? Then this collective might be a good fit for you. Are you ready to deepen your organizational practice by reflecting on things like our culture, our leadership, our care, and our communities through a restorative lens? All right, it might be you. And then the big commitment that we're asking for. Most collectives or cohorts tend to send one person, but guess what? You have the opportunity to send up to 2 people if you want, right? So sending up to 2 consistent representations from your organization. You can send one, but we want to give you the opportunity to say, hey, I think my other fellow coworker might be really great at this. Or maybe it's just the truth that, hey, I might be an executive director and my time is limited, so I need to send this other person who also holds decision-making power in the organization. Thank you so much for joining us, Christina. I appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing your application in. Thank you. Yeah. So you have that opportunity to send up to 2 representatives from your organization, but you also can send one. Can you commit to all sessions? 6 months is going to fly. You all saw how fast this year flew by. I think the snow the other day made it real for me in Chicago that the year is wrapping up. So just imagine how fast 6 months will fly. So we want your attendance. We understand if one session is an off one, we got to understand that. But for the most part, do you think you can show up to all 6 sessions? Or at least one of the people that might be showing up in the collective. Also, engaging up to 6 hours of coaching, and we won't necessarily have a formal capstone, but we will have some ways of assessing, helping you all to assess what you've learned. So that will be a part of this as well. So if this sounds like your organization or most of these pieces do, well, the RJ Learning Collective was created with you in mind, for sure, for sure. So we're grateful. All right, so what's involved in the application? We'll drop those links there for you to take a look at. But for the most part, the application is 2 parts. Step 1 is actually filling out the application form. It is simple. We want to know about your organization. What's your org's name? How big are you? All of the things. Talking about your organizational capacity might be looking at things like your budget size, your mission, how many staff you have, just to give us a layout of who you are. And then we want to talk about you as the primary applicant. What's your cohort motivation and goals? Why are you personally interested in this experience? And what's your personal RJ experience? What do you bring to the collective? If there is someone else from your organization who also might be attending, so say, Daniel, you want to attend, but maybe Jason, right, also might be another person that attends as well. We at least want to know that you might be bringing in someone else. And if selected, we'll send a follow-up small little portion for them to fill out so that we can also get a sense of their motivation and goals and their personal RJ experience. Other than that, we just got a few boxes to check. Like, are you sure you can attend all 6 sessions? And what makes this accessible for you? So that application is dropped in the chat. Does not take long to complete, but we do ask for it to be thoughtful, right? As we are getting an opportunity to know who you are as an organization. The second step in the application process is a self-assessment form. This will actually take a little bit longer for you to complete, but guess what? It is an amazing tool for you personally, even just to get a sense of where you're currently landing. There are a few different capacity building areas that research have shown if we are strong in these areas, we are strong as an organization. So we put a restorative justice spin to it to help you get a sense of where your organization is currently operating. So for example, you'll see on the slide, the first section, there are technically 7 sections of this. The first section is all about vision and impact model. This is your opportunity, and I invite you to maybe fill this out with a executive director or someone else on your senior leadership team to ask yourself things like, when it comes to your vision and impact model, do you feel like you have a vision already that really reflects restorative values? Give yourself a rating there. Do you feel like your organization can already clearly articulate how restorative justice connects to the broader work, right? So these are some very, very thoughtful questions. And each section does have an open-ended component for you to fill in your own personal narrative. The goal here, you all, is not to rate yourself all 5s, right? If you are all 5s, great. And we are not using this to assess whether or not you'll be a good fit for the collective. This is for you to have a starting place of knowing where you're coming in at. So see this as a tool for yourself. And no matter what happens, if you are given a seat on the collective or not, I would love to have a one-on-one call to help you really interpret your results, your responses, and to really help you think through what next steps are. We will also come back to this assessment within the collective, as some of these topics we will obviously be exploring. So it's an opportunity to say, oh, when we filled out our application, this is where we were when it comes to how we generate our resources. But now that we've been a part of this for a while, these are some of the shifts that we're ready to make or we are thinking about making. So all of that is some good things. Any questions about the first initial application, right? And then the purpose of the self-assessment. Any questions coming up? Hey, Erica, we haven't answered that, but I love this question because I love the story behind it. When the hubs came together in 2012, it was very informal. It really was a group of leaders, actually someone from CPS as well, Daniel, who came to the table. And at the time, young people were in juvenile detention centers at a mass level, right? And a group of leaders came to the table and said, how can we make young people an irresistible force of good, an irreforcible part of good and change? How can we make it that young people need to be here, deserve to be here? And how do we make that a deterrent from our criminal justice system? So originally the hubs came together thinking about young people, thinking about young people who are incarcerated, thinking about the ACEs, thinking about trauma and the impact. And they all came together and was like, we need to be a hub. We need to be a safe space for youth, young people, families, communities to know that they're well. And we want to do this through a restorative justice lens. So that is the one thing that you'll see within all of these hubs, that they do cross some work with youth and families. So Erica, I hope that helps. And then I did see that Emma dropped in the video for the case for RJ also really explains that. So take a look at it. All right, y'all. Well, that is the application piece. The only other piece that I'll share is how we're sort of scoring rubrics. We want to just know, is there an alignment with RJ, right? Do you already have some familiarity with it? Is there a case that you all are already thinking about how to align your organizational values with RJ? We want to look at how ready do you feel to tap into this space? What's the potential for impact, right? So when Erica, as you talk about coalition building, that's huge. That's a lot of impact. So we want to know what that potential looks like. And obviously with 6 sessions, we want to know your commitment to participate. There is a contribution fee associated with the Community Restorative Justice Hubs Learning Collective. It can range between $250 to $500 based on your organizational budget. But please know, we have scholarships available. So on the application, it will ask you, would you like a scholarship? Click yes if that is helpful for you. And that is an organizational fee. It's not a fee that is for each leader that you might send. So it's one fee, or that scholarship fee covers the entire fee as well. But there is a spot on the application for you to identify if you would like to apply for a scholarship in order to help you contribute. We don't like barriers. We don't want barriers. We are so grateful for our funders who made this largely possible for us. And we want to be able to go to them and say, hey, we had an overwhelming number of applicants and an overwhelming number of applicants who also identify needing scholarships. Help us fund this in the second go around, right? So all of this is helpful for us. All right, I've been talking a lot. I want to just end with some key dates coming up. This application is now open. We do hope to close it on the 21st. That's next week, y'all. Get your applications in. That's next week. Like I mentioned, the first application does not take a lot of time, but we do hope you will sit and be extremely thoughtful with that assessment. It takes a little bit more time. We'll be reviewing these applications from November 24th to December 22nd, and you'll definitely hear from us before the year ends. Because guess what? That kickoff session is January 7th. It will be in person. It will be actually at one of the hubs. So we're going to root you in community for each of our sessions. That's a Wednesday. So the cadence will be every first Wednesday, technically, of the month that we will meet. All right. And lastly, I just want to say I really do hope that you all would join us in building this citywide restorative justice community. Once again, my name is Karlyn Boens. I am the Community Restorative Justice Hubs Manager. My email is listed. We've dropped the applications in the chat. Please reach out if you have any questions or if anything is coming up for you all as you are completing your application. I'll stick around if there's any other questions, but we'll also make sure that we get this recording out to you. All right, that's my piece. Any other? You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you all for attending.
Hi.
Glad to follow up.